Hello, welcome. I did a video about Padmasana, lotus pose, and then within that video I referred often to the posture Sukhasana. So this pose is Sukhasana, and quite a few of you were asking about a bit of instruction on it. So here goes. The main thing is to start with, see how I've sat up on a brick, okay? And for those of you who are tighter in the hips, if you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, something like this, and the knees are this high, however high this is, the knees from the floor, you need that much height. So it's perfectly normal for people to be using, I've got here 2 foam blocks, a brick on top. There's nothing wrong with adding a great deal of height to then sit. Then, once you've got the height right, this is a little bit too high for me, you then need to get a sense that the thighs are releasing down. Okay, so there's my pelvis, the thighs are releasing down in relation to the pelvis. Now, I'm just going to get rid of that because that's a little bit too high for me. Okay, so if I stay on the brick, the next thing to observe in Sukhasana, because people say it's just easy cross-legged pose, but actually the detail that's most important is that the feet are directly beneath the knees. So you can see here the feet are in front of the knees. If I just sit casually cross-legged, often people bring the feet in too close, so that's not Sukhasana. Or instead of the feet being too close, people take the knees too wide, and now this becomes a different posture again altogether. So here, like I say, the foot has to come further forward, foot here comes further forward, feet directly beneath the knees. So that's the basic part of Sukhasana, feet beneath the knees. Okay. Now, the next thing we do is we take the hands to the buttocks, we broaden the flesh of the buttocks. We literally pull the flesh of the buttocks out wide to the side. That broadening action is really important. The next thing I do is I take the fingers here to the calf muscles, I roll the calf, I roll the shin forward. So that creates space here. Then you place the fingertips at the sides, either side of the brick, retract the top of the arms, retract the shoulder blades, so you become large across the chest. So that's the basic setup of the pose. And now we're going to add a few extra details. So if I take a folded blanket, I've basically tri-folded this blanket, and I bring it in here, what I can do, so I'll just put it like this, okay, same thing. This tri-folded blanket, you can see here the outer ankle, which tends to go onto the floor. It's just now going to create a little bit of lift here, you see, because often when this outer ankle bone pressures into the ground, this is why often people sitting in Sukhasana start to complain of their legs going dead. Okay, the circulation gets cut off. So just this little fold of something with the blanket there, that really, really helps. So for seated pranayama, it's going to allow you to basically fully relax the legs. There's another method that works really well, especially for those of you who are a little bit higher here. So if I imitate it with this. So for those of you who may have been higher, I'll give you a sense of it. So once again, I've sat up here, broadened the buttocks, feet directly beneath the knees. That blanket there, you can see it's just taking the outer ankles off. Now for some people this is still a little high, so we use another folded blanket, something like this, and I basically now wrap this around under the knees to create a little bit more support. You can see how it's going under the knee, between the ankle there. So this is basically creating a lot of space. So for a sitting meditation pose, or for the invocation at the beginning of practice, this is the sort of Sukhasana shape you might want to make. Now obviously sides of the body go up and so on, but this is the basic Sukhasana shape. The thing to remember as well is to change the cross of the legs. Right now I've got left shin in front, I would then sit for a few more minutes right shin in front. So that's pretty much all you need to know with Sukhasana. It is a really useful pose. For those of you who have a response similar to some of my students who say, oh, but it's more comfortable to sit like this, one of the things that might help your understanding of it is double pigeon. So some of you are familiar with this pose, pigeon posture, or Ekapada Rajkapatasana. So one of the ways that you can think about it is, if I was, I'm just going to do it like this so you don't need to change the camera, Nick. If this was Ekapada Rajkapatasana here, that's similar to the feet being like this, and it's not so open, I'm not having to open the hips so much. So there's that diagonal angle. Whereas when I bring this foot forward in Ekapada Rajkapatasana, now you can see how that's basically much more similar here. So if I do Sukhasana and go forward, which in sequencing is what you would do, this actually makes your hip joint work much, much more. So although some people have this aversion to Sukhasana and think, oh, it's too simple, it's actually a really fundamental pose, which again, within the Ashtanga tradition doesn't tend to get taught. We tend to kind of just gloss over it. Okay, so that's the information you might need for Sukhasana. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. Good.